All right. Welcome back, everybody. I have the privilege to sit down with Chief Luke Peterson. He started as a paid on-call fireman in a small rural department in 1998. He was hired full-time in 2001 by a two-station combination department. From there, he worked there for about 16 months and received a job offer at his current department. He works in a Chicago suburb with 5 stations. Go to lieutenant in 2013. Was there for 10 years, was promoted to battalion chief January 2023, and that's his current rank right now. He is also the fitness coordinator for his department, and he manages their fleet services. So, Chief, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. More importantly, in that bio, and we were talking earlier and forgot, the real reason and probably the most important thing about your bio for this show is owner, firefighterstraps.com. Is that correct, Chief?
Absolutely.
All right. Is there anything I missed or anything you want to add there, boss?
No, sounds good. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, perfect. Well, listen, so thanks for agreeing to come on. So me and Chief connected over the interweb over Instagram, and he has a company called firefighterstraps.com, and it is amazing products. So I was just showing a bunch of the boys at work the other day, and it's one of those things where once you look at it, you're going to say, damn it, I could have done that, right? This guy's a genius. That makes so much sense. That's kind of where we're at right now. So without further ado, Chief, please just break us down to, man, how did it start? Like, were you always like, man, I want an easier way to carry shit, or how did it kind of march out, Chief, if you don't mind just explain to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I had no ambition to be a business owner, start a business, anything like that. I got promoted to lieutenant back in 2013. The complement of tools I love carrying is the Halligan bar and New York Hook. Great complement of tools for engine company officer, truck company officer, but they're terrible to carry together. So you get, 95% of our calls are fire alarms. You get up to the Knox box, you got to lean the hook against the wall, you got to put the bar on the ground, you pick them back up and go on with your business. So I wanted to come up with a method to marry the New York Hook and Halligan bar together. So I did, and after a couple terrible renditions of the strap, finally came up with a good rendition of it. And after I did, I made one for myself, had a lady downtown sew it for me, and I bought my stuff on Amazon. And after that, I had it on our rig, and some of my guys at my department said, hey, where'd you get that strap? And I said, well, I made it. Why? They said, well, can you make me one? I said, sure. So before I knew it, I had one on every one of our rigs. And then neighboring department that we work with quite a bit saw it at training and said, hey, where'd you guys get that strap? And they said, well, Luke makes it. So they said, hey, can you make us a few of those? So before we knew it, I had one on every one of their rigs. And at the time, my maintenance boss, I work in our maintenance division on my off days also, and my maintenance boss said, hey, it sounds like you got something here. You should probably do something with it. Well, about 5 or 6 years later, I finally did. I am involved in purchasing for my department, and one of the frustrations I had was finding a one-stop shop for straps, specifically hose straps. So I would go on one website to find one like the hose strap, another website to find another like the hose strap, and it got very frustrating. So eventually I said, well, I guess I'm going to make some hose straps. One of the other things that we were doing was we were finally upgrading our fleet, and I got the approval from our chief to upgrade some of our tools and equipment when we upgraded our fleet. And the way that we deploy our hose lines off the back of our vehicles is 2.5-inch hose with a play pipe in line, or a 2.5-inch nozzle, depending what your terminology is, and into an 1 3/4 line. And that 2.5-inch nozzle's bouncing around the front yard, sometimes gets shut off on a front porch post or on a curb. So we had always had bail straps to keep that nozzle in a locked and open position, to keep that 1 3/4 line flowing all the time. And it was literally seat belts from cars that were cut out from guys 25 years ago. The Velcro, you could blow on it and it would come apart. And so I finally got the approval to go ahead and upgrade some of this stuff, which was definitely needed. And I couldn't find one. I couldn't find a bail strap. So I said, well, I guess I'm going to make a bail strap too. And really, that was the beginning of the company. It was the New York Hook Halligan strap, the bail strap, and some basic hose straps. And it was something I had no ambition of doing, and it just kind of fell in my lap, and it was something that I had come up with and ran with it. So that was kind of the beginning of it.
How long has the company, like, really, not just you making it for guys or you trying to make it for your own department to make your purchasing easier, how long have you guys kind of been really mainstream when it comes out to, man, you're sending stuff out all over the country?
So mainstream has been about 3 years, incorporated 4 years ago. So
Copy.
we incorporated 4 years ago. Had no idea what we were doing, to be honest with you. And then we really, our big kickoff point was FDIC. FDIC 3 years ago was really when we started to gain traction, where we started to get our name out there across the country and get orders from across the country through our website, and then also through direct orders through contacting me or my partners. But yeah, so we've been in business for 4 years. First year was kind of a figure it out kind of thing. And so really 3 years we kind of been rocking and rolling.
So now explain to me, and this is because I'm being very selfish right now. Let's talk about the original product, because that's what is the most interesting to me. So I'm just curious. I've seen guys with metal clips. They've been able to use set screws to like tie on the New York hooks to be able to marry a Halligan. I've seen you weld a chain link onto your. So why is the strap better than all those?
Well, number one, I didn't want there to be any sort of modification to the tools. So you can weld a chain link on it. There's a bunch of different modifications that there are for it. So like I said, there was some terrible renditions of the strap prior to the one that's out right now that works very well. The original version, it worked okay, but it didn't keep the tools super secure. With the current strap, it keeps the tools super secure. You don't have to modify the tools at all. And the second component to it is it has to be quickly accessible. You have to be able to remove that strap quickly so you can go to work. So large pull tabs, gloved hand, easily accessible. The way we sew our Velcro on our straps, on whether it's our hose straps or the New York Hook Halligan strap, we always sew the loop Velcro over the hook Velcro. So when you go to deploy it, you can pull it off with a gloved hand. It's going to slip out. Nothing's going to hang up on it. So those were really the key features to it. Was I didn't want to have to modify my tools for it. Everybody doesn't have access to a fabrication shop to weld a chain link on, or isn't handy enough to do something like that. And no matter what configuration you have these tools, and you can flip them upside down, you can shake them, you can do whatever you need to do, and the tools aren't going to come apart. So the chain link is great. You still have to grasp it with one hand. You still have to keep those tools together. They will stay together against the wall. With this, no matter what configuration, they stay together, quickly and easily deployable. You don't have to modify your tools. So really, that was kind of what I was looking for when I came up with this strap.
Well, I love the fact, and it dawned on me as you're saying, man, I didn't want to modify my tools. I know, so the department I work for, there are tools that are on the truck that are owned by the city, and we are not allowed to modify them. How they're purchased is how they're purchased, period, the end. And then most guys carry personal tools, personal hooks and everything else, and that's where you see all the modification. But I love the idea that guys can get these straps so they can be more efficient and effective firemen. If they don't, especially the new guys, they just don't have any money to invest in their craft yet. So the only tools available are the rig tools, and they're like, man, I want a better way. And at least with your strap, they're not going to have to get permission from the city to modify a tool and get told no. So that's genius.
Exactly.
So you did a New York hook strap, that was the baby. Then basically on the hose strap. So again, selfishly, can we talk about the can strap? So cans across the American Fire Service right now is a very hot topic in a very progressive and good way, in my personal opinion, because I feel like we're talking about utilizing cans a lot more since we're really understanding flow paths, door control, everything else, because now we know we could snuff a fire and hold a lot of shit at bay and save a lot of that house with the can quick actions, pre-hose line. So talk about what your can strap is and then how it would benefit our can man or whatever you want to call it in your system.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally we had a can strap, very basic. It was a lot like the other can straps on the market. The goal is to be the one-stop shop for firefighting straps. So I was like, well, I'm going to make a can strap. Made a basic one. First year at FDIC, we had a gentleman that by the name of Eric Wheaton. He teaches cans and irons class at FDIC every year. Came up to the booth and he said, hey, your can strap's okay. He goes, but here's what you got to do to make it awesome. Like the Cadillac of can straps. So we took the can strap back and we said, all right, quick release buckles, quickly adjustable. You got to be able to, with a gloved hand, you got to be able to release the sling, bring it through your legs. If you're dragging it through your legs, got to be able to quickly adjust it, tighten it, loosen it, whatever the case may be. And you have to have a tether on the top so the strap doesn't slide down the can as you're using it. So went back to the drawing board on that. We already have a number of straps that have seatbelt buckles, Velcro, all the components that he was looking for. And through the course of the last couple of years, kind of dialed that into what we call now, because Eric used the terms of Cadillac of can straps. So really that was kind of the deal with it, where we said there's a lot of them on the market, but how can we make it better? How can we make it so that it works well for the people that use the can in the way that they're teaching in the modern fire service with the cans and irons class, where we're really getting that pressurized water can in there to keep the fire at bay, so we can start searches, so we can make rescues, stuff like that. So that was kind of where our can strap, which is our deluxe can strap, we still do have the other one on the website, but the deluxe can strap is the one that we kind of call the Cadillac of can straps.
I love it. And the fact that there's even a built-in handle on there too, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is amazing, because we talk about angles of the can that make a difference, And I'm sure that's a Whedon idea that was pushed in your brain.
Absolutely. That was one of them too as well.
Yeah. So what's your, I'm curious, what's your top seller then? So you're the one-stop shop for fireman straps, period, the end. I mean, I know you have rescue straps. I went through a deep dive on your website and was just like trying to figure out how we could buy them all. So I know you have everything. So what's the most popular right now?
Boy, I tell you, since the last 2 years at FDIC, since we've had that can strap out, that's been one of the top ones. To be honest, the simplest of all the straps is the belt tool ring and the flashlight strap. So it goes on a gut belt, it goes on a truckman's belt, it goes on an integrated bunker belt, and super simple, but it's not something else that's slung across your body. It's just a simple belt tool ring on the side of that either hooks to your gut belt or your truckman's belt, and you can slide a tool in that. That's hands down our number one seller. The flashlight strap is another one for streamlight or whatever flashlight you have, box light you have, but it keeps it at your side without having something else slung across your body to get hung up on. That's a big seller. As of late, the extrication tool carrying straps have been really, really big. I'm
sure that's because of the big push of the battery powered, right?
Absolutely.
Since they got a little heavier. Okay.
Yeah, and really that's where that stemmed from. My department was going through the process of figuring out what extrication tools we were going to buy, what battery tools we were going to buy. And so we had all the manufacturers out and we took a look at everything. And when I was looking at them, my question to all the manufacturers was, is there a way to carry these things? I mean, we're talking 50, 60-pound tools. And now I'm not in a super rural department, but you got rough terrain, you got rocky ditches, and you do have some rural departments where you might be humping out into a field 100 yards for a car that's rolling over out there. And you got to be able to go to work when you get there. So I've got some pushback on this, like, hey, bro, how about I just get you a membership to the gym and, you toughen up. And I'm like, it's not about that. We're worried about safety, efficiency, and being able to do the job when you get there, when you get to the scene. So if you can save yourself for that, that's what it's all about. But when I was looking at all these different extrication tools, the one thing I found that was in common is the cylindrical case on all the tools. So I said, well, if none of you guys have a strap for it, I'm going to come up with a strap for it. And we have a wide array of fitness levels in the fire service, from smaller to larger individuals. And so wanting to be able to provide a product that will allow everybody to be able to go to work once they get to the vehicle. If you're carrying a 60-pound tool or a 50-pound tool 100 yards out into a cornfield, your forearms and your shoulders are spent by the time you get there. I don't care if you work out. I work out every shift. We all do. But you still got to be able to go to work, and you want to be able to work as long as you can and be as efficient as possible. So really, injury prevention, efficiency, and safety, those are the things with that. But the extrication tool strap, carrying strap, has been a really big seller for us, and a product that not only have fire departments latched onto, but manufacturers have latched onto as well.
And it's funny because even like you were talking about the rural setting and I get it, car down a ravine or a ditch or whatever, you going a couple 100 yards into the woods. Yeah, man, that's a freaking truck. But like, I know in our region now, since we became untethered and went battery operated, we're utilizing spreaders on the rear of commercial structures, and we can set a 3-man team, 2 guys setting gaps, just big enough to get the spreaders in there and start ripping these doors rapidly when we need to provide extra means of egress on these large commercial buildings. So even in downtown Philadelphia, just picking a random city, right? That would be absolutely a great option to add to that mix. You talked about the belt
Belt
accessory. Yeah, the belt tool ring, and that was something else that like me and the boys were like kind of drooling over because it almost seems, and I don't know the answer, it almost seems like it's interchangeable. So we saw where like it goes on your belt loop, and then you can basically click in your box light. You know, can that click into like other parts of your carrying devices?
Yeah, so the way the belt tool ring does not have a seatbelt buckle on it. We do
Oh,
have
okay.
we do have another. Homatro came out with a forcible entry tool called a T1, and they wanted a device to carry that. There's nowhere to tether on it. So we do have a sling with the belt tool ring on it, but it's not, it doesn't have the seatbelt buckle on it because that's not what they wanted. But the rest of our tool complement, we have the sling that has the female buckle on it, and every other tool portion of our straps has a male buckle on it. So if you had that sling on, if you wanted to carry an extrication tool, if you wanted to carry a flashlight, if anything that we have that you put on the tool that has a seatbelt buckle on it, the male portion is on the tools, the female portion is on the sling. So you can click it right into our sling. It's interchangeable. Tick, there's a bunch of different things. But I do want to go back real quick to, you made a good point about our extrication tool carrying strap. And one of the biggest benefits, and actually probably the largest grossing department that's bought them from us, is a large city fire department that uses these extrication tools for forcible entry in high-rise buildings. And when you're going up multiple flights of stairs, or you have a ton of equipment to carry up in a high-rise fire, and you're looking to force multiple doors in a real quick fashion, it was greatly beneficial to them. Actually, the salesman came to me and said, these guys are coming up with some ridiculous ways to carry this thing, and they are beating the crap out of these tools. Can you please give me one of these straps so I can show it to them? So I did, and ultimately they ended up buying them for all the tools for their high-rise evolutions. And then the other application, which kind of goes a little bit outside the fire service, but I think it's worth mentioning, is they've started developing these tools for forcible entry for law enforcement. And with law enforcement, it's extremely important for them to be hands-free. So they have to have a way to carry this tool and still have access to their weapon. So we've kind of ventured off into the law enforcement aspect with the forcible entry tools and the sling, because they really need that aspect of being hands-free when they're carrying the tools as well. So,
And that makes sense. That never would have ever entered my brain, honestly. But
yeah, mine either, until they asked for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And then helping our brothers in blue. So that's always a good thing. I'm going to go on a quick tangent real fast. What was the name of that Hamatra Rabbit Tool Halligan T1? All right. Do you guys have them in your department?
We do.
Honest opinion. What do you think about them?
So we had some issues with.
I'll give you my issues. I'm curious on your issues.
Well, we had some issues with the previous tools that we had. So we had the Hydrorams before, and we were blowing seals on those things all the time. So we tried out the T1. We had mixed reviews with the T1. Some guys are said like it's heavy. The head is way too heavy. It's not balanced. But ultimately, in the end, when we looked at the application for it, the removable forks on the end to be able to get a purchase point, keep that purchase point, and then we beat the heck out of that thing when we trialed it, and we were never able to make it fail. So it was kind of a replacement for our Hydroram tools that we had in the past. I
gotcha. All right, well, I'll go on a quick rant. So we got them at a whim because it was one of those budgetary things. Hey, there's a allotment of money. It has to be spent yesterday. If not, it's gone in a half a second. We pulled the trigger on it. They sounded like an amazing idea. I was actually extremely excited when they came in. Before actually using them, I love the detachable forks. I think that's the best wedge on the market. I agree. I don't believe it's a well-balanced tool. Here's my two biggest gripes. And if Hamatro's listening, come see me and I'll show you. The first gripe is it's impossible with the gloved hand to release that pressure. That freaking little tiny little valve, whatever that is, garbage. Dumbest thing I've ever seen. The other part is the reason that we got them and we're very excited to get them was for exactly what we just talked about, those really tough commercial outward swinging doors. And what we found through a bunch of forcing is they bind the doors and they're they cannot force that door. It actually creates so much pressure, it binds on the outward. Inward, oh my God, it blasts it all day long. But the reason we were thinking was commercial and outward swinging, really tough reinforced doors, and it does not perform. My opinion.
So
But
I laughed when you talked about the release mechanism, because I went to our salesman and I'm like, hey, this is a good tool. It's a great tool. We want it, but like, you got to do something about this release mechanism. It's so small and it sticks, and there's no way to release it with a gloved hand. And he's like, they're working on it. They're working on it. I said, okay, well, we'll buy them once they work that out. And he said, I'll make a deal with you. You buy them now. When they come out with it, I will replace your tools with the new ones. I said, all right, deal. So they are working on that release mechanism, because that was our number one gripe when we tested those tools.
all right, well, thank you for helping all of us across the United States with that, because not every single person, because we ran it through the grinder, and it was like the feedback. That was always every single person negative feedback on that part of the tool.
Yep.
And I'm like,
absolutely.
how did they not know that prior to? I'll get off that tangent. Before we transition to just kind of your department and the great things you guys are doing, is there anything else you want to talk about with your company, sir?
I think the biggest thing is, you had mentioned before, we are the one-stop shop for firefighting straps. We're not quite there yet. That's the ultimate goal, to be the one-stop shop for firefighting straps. I think the way that we get there, number one, is great customer service. So if you go on our website, you're going to see my picture, you're going to see my email address. If you email me, I'll get right back to you. And so will my partners. We have great customer service. We'll get back to you right away. The other thing is that we're more than willing to provide custom straps. So one of the biggest selling custom products that we have as of late is our hose bundle strap kits. So people come to me and say, hey, I want a hose bundle strap kit for our high rise. And they'll say, I got 100 feet, 1 3/4. And I'm like, all right, well, how's it packaged? How's it bundled? What do you want? Do you want a sling? Do you want 3 straps tethered together? What do you want? I'm more than willing to work through that with people, because I think hose bundle straps are very important in that, well, number one is, I like individual hose straps better than I like hose bundle strap kits. Fire chiefs like hose bundle strap kits because they're tethered together and you don't lose hose straps all the time. What we've found is that we have an adjustable hose bundle strap kit on the website. It works. It works fine for you. I would prefer, and I prefer, the stationary hose bundle strap kits, where we make it to exactly what you need. We put the right hose straps on it. We make it the exact length that you want it, whether you're using the Wichita load, the Denver load, whatever the case may be. Let me know your hose circumference. Let me know the length of your bundle. Let me know what you're looking for. We'll make a custom hose bundle strap kit for you. Our manufacturer's awesome. We deal with it all the time. And that's really something I think that kind of sets us apart, because there really isn't a lot of companies out there that'll make you custom hose bundle strap kits, and you can keep coming back for more later. But the other point that I want to make is, I started this company with 7 hose straps. Through the course of getting out to fire departments, through the course of people calling me and contacting me and saying, hey, do you have something for this? Do you have something for this? Can you help me out with this? Now we've got about 43 different products. And a lot of that, probably 50% me and 50% firefighters reaching out, because firefighters have great ideas, but they don't always have the means to make it happen. The other half of that is firefighters reaching out to me and saying, hey, I need something for this. Can you help me with that? And I love that, because not only am I helping a fellow firefighter, but also it's likely a product that another firefighter is going to need at some point, because if there's a need, other people are probably needing it as well. So I think that's the biggest thing, in wrapping up the whole business side of things, is I'm more than happy to make things, more than happy to modify things. And I'm not going to say 100% I can always make what you need, but I'll give it my best shot, and we'll see what we can do. So,
Dude, I love it. And again, you're on this show. You're not on this show to promote and sell your product. You're on this show because, first of all, you're a fireman. Second of all, you're trying to make everything better for us, the American Fire Service. And you said it multiple times. And I always tell the kids this too, like the recruits. I am here to train you to be effective and efficient. And you must have said efficient probably like 10 times. And it's true, because the more efficient we are, the more work we can do in a timely manner, which makes us better at our freaking job, which is every single one of us want to be a stud when the tones drop. I don't care if you got a year on the job or 35 years on the job. When the tones drop, you want to be a stud. So you're out there making stuff that makes us more likely to be a stud on scene. So, dude, kudos. Thank you for, I know it kind of like fell in your lap and then it just took off, but good things happen to good dudes for good reasons. And, just thank you for helping the American Fire Service and like you said, making this more efficient, and I love the idea that guys can reach out to you and say, bro, this is my problem. Because that's how we learn. And this show, we talk about it all the time, get outside your comfort zone. This is exactly what we're talking about. He is outside the comfort zone saying, call me and challenge me and I'll try something. It might not work, but I'll try,
I'll do my best.
So yeah, I'll do my best. All right, brother. So I know you've been a battalion chief for a couple of years now, right? About 3 years or so, but I'm putting you back in the right front seat. I'm putting you on the wagon or the ladder, wherever you were. So we're running our 95% house fire, our single story dwelling. You're first in. How does your system work for that first arriving house fire? How many engines, how many ladders, and kind of march out how the call goes, if you don't mind, for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 engines, 2 trucks, and 2 ambulances, and a battalion. That's our first in, depending on the amount of chiefs that are around, but at least 2 chiefs. And that's our normal complement. We run 3 people on a fire company. And we're in the area that we're in, Chicago suburbs, we're aggressive interior attack. Now, with flow path and all the research that's come out, we've modified that, certainly. I mean, we're not afraid to darken something down and then go in and hit it. But yeah, we're pretty aggressive with interior attack. We first engine in. The first 4 companies that arrive on the scene, they've got their marching orders just out of our SOGs, and they're rolling with it. They're going right away. They're not waiting for orders. They're moving. So first engine is a fire attack. Second engine is water supply if we don't already have one. And second line, trucks coming in. They're doing search, forcible entry if they need to, getting around to the back, starting to throw ladders. Third engine, if there's an assignment for them, if we need them, then we're gonna put them to work. But that's kind of a catch-all. Third engine, fourth engine, second truck, RIT assignment unless there's something that needs to get done. And then we utilize our medics pretty heavily. So our first medic unit to the scene teams up with our first engine, helps to get that first hose line in place, and then they branch off and start a search on the fire floor. Second medic that comes in is going to be our rehab medic. So that's, in a nutshell, bread and butter house fire. That's how we operate, and that's pretty standard in our area for my department and for my surrounding departments.
All right, so that fourth engine and second ladder, they're automatically, obviously, unless they're needed, they're automatically married as a rapid intervention. Is that correct? Both the companies?
Correct. Unless there's, quite often there are assignments to be handled, so we're putting them to work, or at least one of those companies to work. But as a standard in our SOGs, that is what they're slated to do unless told otherwise.
Okay, and that first engine, do they go dry and that second engine makes their connections? Do they lay in?
So typically, we're pretty fortunate. We've got water in about 90% of our area. So that first in engineer is usually responsible for getting their own water. We got hydrants pretty much everywhere. If not, that second engine comes in, second engine drops their water to the first engine, and then they lead out to the hydrant.
Okay, copy. Yeah, I was just wondering because some departments always lay in. They'll have 2 lines come in eventually. Some never lay in, in that second, or some will just lay a line dry and that second engine will go ahead and make their connection. So I'm always curious on what that typical first in engine will or will not do, depending, because then in the system I work in, it is, you will not lay in if it's a rescue profile. So someone's on the horn, hey, I'm trapped or whatever. And then if not, it's the officer's discretion if they lay in or not. We just verbalize it on the radio either way. That way, either the second line needs to get picked up or it's fine. So I was just curious because you guys are SOG driven, which I love SOG driven because it probably cuts down on radio traffic a lot, right? It
does. Yeah. And we typically do not lay in. We have 750 gallons of water on our engines. And so, we're get a line off, protect the stairs, get upstairs, in a nighttime fire where there's potential rescues to be made. Let's get in there. Let's protect egress. Let's make rescues. Let's get people out. Ultimately, we want to save everything we can, but let's save lives first. Get that 750 gallons of water to work, and let's worry about water supply after that. So, and I say that, but that's in the forefront of our mind. Like I said, we're very fortunate having hydrants in 90% of our districts. So, and our engineers are pretty proficient in getting that water supply pretty quick. And if not, that second engine's right on top of them, and they're helping them out with that. So,
I copy. So what's the reason for the two battalions? Does one go interior as a sector officer, or how do you guys run that?
Yeah, typically so depending on the magnitude of the fire, we've got a command and then operations.
Okay.
So we'll have command that's in a controlled environment, and everybody does this different. Some people are standing outside, at the tail of the tail end of the buggy. Some people are standing in the front yard as command. For us, the way that we do it is command is in the car. They're in a controlled environment. You can roll the window up. You can roll the window down. You can think clearly. You don't have people barking at you the whole time. And then we got operations up to the scene right away, and then they're the one that's handling the operations and reporting back to command as far as what they need. So that's how we typically handle a single family structure fire. And then as we fill out our as further chiefs arrive, then we'll get if we need a division C, we'll get a division C. If we need a safety officer, RIT chief, stuff like that, we'll fill the complement out as more chiefs arrive.
I got you. And I agree with you because I've been in that situation, in that controlled environment. It's nice when you can literally lock the doors and roll the windows up and be like, yeah, I'm on the radio right now, but yeah, I agree. But you're right though. I mean, I've talked to battalion chiefs that literally will set up almost like a yard sale table on the sidewalk, and I'm like, but they love it. They prefer it because they feel like they're closer and they're more in tune with the guys. So, I mean, all have their benefits, but I prefer your guys' method for sure when it comes about command. The last question about command is your initial arriving officer, I'm assuming, will assume command. And then how does that come over to the battalion? Is that a face-to-face? Or is that something that's just transferred over the radio? How do you guys do the transfer?
So we do it a little different. Okay. We do not, our first arriving officers do not establish command.
Really?
So so that's the kind of the blue card system. And we kind of take a little bit of that blue card system, but our first arriving officers do not establish command. Like I said, we're SOG driven pretty heavily. So our first in chief is usually on the scene within a minute or two of that first in fire company. Now, if the chief is not there, that first in engine company officer, truck company officer is going to designate what needs to be done, but they don't officially take command. The first in battalion chief takes command, and then they will radio the first in officer and get a can report from them, and then roll from there.
Okay, I copy. So they give a on-scene report and they go to work basically, and then once the chief gets on scene, he gets a can report and then starts rolling his Rolodex from there.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey, I like it. I like it a lot. That's one. All right. So, we know, I love what you're doing for the American Fire Service right now. Like, your department sounds like you guys are rocking and rolling. You've been there for quite some time. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we get into kind of the questions of the season?
I think we've covered a lot. The only thing, from the business perspective, the only thing I want to leave the audience with is through the month of July, we've got a discount code COPPER on our website. Put in the discount code COPPER, you get 10% off for anything on our website. So go to our website, firefighterstraps.com, check it out. Put in the code COPPER at checkout, you get 10% off any of our stuff.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah. Code COPPER, get 10% off. Freaking amazing tools supporting a brother-owned company. What else can you ask for? All right, so let's get into the questions of the season, right? This is my favorite part. So let's start with the why. We ask the why in the American Fire Service a lot. We ask the why when you're trying to get hired. We ask the why when you're promoting. Shit, we even ask the why when you're trying to do other positions within your job. But why? Why did Luke become a fireman? Did you get bit by the bug? Was it something you always wanted to do? Just tell the audience why you ended up with the American Fire Service, brother.
Yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. So I grew up in a small, somewhat rural community, very small volunteer POC fire department, and I happened to go to the community college in that town when I got out of high school. My brother was on the fire department, and he's like, hey, man, we're super short-staffed during the day. You're going to be in town. You're going to the community college right here in town. He said, you should get on the fire department. All right, I'll get on the fire department. Why not? I was good with numbers. I was going to be an accountant, or I don't know what I was going to be, something that I would have been miserable in for my whole life. And I got on the fire department. That was it. I had no desire as a kid. I wasn't growing up as a kid being like, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a firefighter. Really never thought about it. And my dad was on the same volunteer fire department for a number of years before my brother got on. My brother got on, and he's he's like, you got to get on. He was kind of a role model of me for me as I was growing up, always kind of following in his footsteps. And I said, yeah, I'll get on. And you either love it or you hate it. And I got on the fire department. It's either for you or it's not. And it was 100% for me. And I immediately just took a right turn and said, change my major. I know what I'm doing. And from that day forward, it was, let's get my EMT. Let's get my, well, at the time it was Firefighter 2, but like, let's get this done and let's get rolling because this is the job for me. I love it. It was, it was kind of the spur of the moment. I had no idea as a kid what I wanted to do. And once I got a taste of it, that was it.
You know, it's funny because there's a good portion of really good dudes on the job that got into it by freaking accident. It was like, it just came across and you're like, but then when they did, they're like, oh my God, this is my calling. I just had no idea.
Yeah.
Prior to, is your brother still in the job or no?
He is. Yep. He's in
the same department?
No, he's in another Chicago suburban department as a deputy chief.
Oh, okay, cool. Any other family on the job? Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's cool, man. I like a freaking brother on the job. That's freaking amazing. So we know the why, right? So let's talk about traditions. So everyone's got different traditions, but wholeheartedly, we're trying to hold on to them desperately, I'd like to say, because of society in general. They look at a lot of things we do as hazing, whatever the case might be. But we have so many good traditions in the American Fire Service. What is your favorite American Fire Service tradition? But more importantly, why? Why is it your favorite tradition?
You asked me this before, kind of kicking this around, but to me, and this is something we talk about in my department a lot, it's the coffee table, really. I mean, there is so much at the coffee table that goes on. And one of the things that we've talked about, I've talked about with my officers, and I'm like, man, we got all these new guys that get hired, and they're awesome. They're doing what they should be doing. They get here, they get to shift at 6 o'clock. We start at 7. They get to shift at 6 o'clock. They're out checking their vehicle. They're doing good stuff. And I'm like, they're missing the coffee table. There's a lot of banter that goes on. There's a lot of nonsense and everything, but there's also a lot of good handoff that happens there. There's a lot of good, it's the calls from the day before, the issues that you ran into. It's the whatever, is going on with your vehicle. There's a lot of that stuff that ties into that too. And whether it's the coffee table in the morning, whether it's the coffee table after dinner, I mean, I think that tradition of sitting down. Oh, this is our home away from home. This is our family away from family. And you learn so much about everybody at your meal times, sitting down before shift. You really get a good handoff at that coffee table in the morning. And so we're trying to draw our new hires into that, where I know they don't want to sit down. I know they don't, they feel like I got to be doing something. I should get the laundry going. I should get the bathrooms clean. I should get my rig check done. But that is really important for them to be a part of that. I feel anyways. And I think that, like, the coffee table is a great tradition at the firehouse.
I love it. It's funny. A couple months ago, I had Battalion Chief Chris Slayer on, and his answer to that question was same as yours. He calls it the kitchen table, right? But he goes, bro, and literally this is his words. He goes, bro, we shouldn't be getting a freaking flame or Maltese tattoo, cool dragon tattoo. He's like, we should be getting coffee table, kitchen table tattoos. He's like, because that's where the fucking magic of the fire service is. And you're absolutely right. And I never really thought of it until you just said that. You're right, because we tell these new kids, like, listen, go to work. When you get there early, right? And you work from when you get in there to when your captain tells you to rack out, and you learn as much as you can. But we forget to tell them or make sure that they understand that there's certain periods that are important for them to sit and listen. And that's exactly right. I mean, the best thing in the world is when you come in, because either you saw something on Instagram, right? Or you just smell the firehouse and you're like, oh, the boys had a job, and you're just waiting for them to wake up. I'm like, tell me everything, right? Tell me how good it was. Tell me what went wrong. Tell me what you guys screwed up. Tell me tell me. I want to hear, right? Or whatever the case might be. But you're right. And we're missing so much, and it's our therapy. It's our training table. It's everything to us.
Yep.
So
absolutely. Yep.
Dude, perfect. Well, let's go completely opposite of that now, right? So if you can snap your fingers, right, and instant gratification, one thing has changed in the American Fire Service. So that was inserting, deleting, whatever you want to do happens right away, no sweat equity. What would it be? But why? Why would you change, insert, delete, whatever this thing is?
Annual fitness standard.
Holy shit. Talk more, my brother.
We do a CPAT test. I don't know what you guys do where you're at. By us, the CPAT test is a standard. You got to pass the CPAT. You got to have your cute little card when you come in to get hired to say, I'm physically fit to be a firefighter. After that day, That's it. You're done. It's terrible. Um, Something I've been battling for a while. I told you I'm the fitness coordinator at my department. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. I think, the talks that I have with our new hires is, hey, this is a lifestyle change for you. You're a firefighter now. So you're a firefighter whether you're at work, you're a firefighter whether you're at home. If something happens outside of here, the headline's not going to read Luke Peterson got arrested for whatever. It's going to read firefighter got arrested for whatever. But the flip side of that is people know what you do for a living. And people, how many times you have a station tour where people walk through and then they kind of look at you and, you got somebody on your shift and they're like, wait, he's a firefighter? And you're like, yeah. And the unfortunate part is that it's not only a detriment to the rest of the people you work with, but I mean, to that individual themselves and to the public. And that's the problem, is that we have a standard when people get hired, and we don't have a standard we have to uphold throughout the rest of your career. I would love to see an annual fitness test where you have to pass it, and if you don't pass it, you're offline. That's something we don't have locally. I know, like Indianapolis Fire Department, phenomenal at it. But they also have the resources. They have a facility. They have on-duty physicians. They have physical therapists. They have personal trainers. They have the ability to do that. Unless you're in some type of cooperation with or some type of county fire department where you have 10 different districts that come together and you have the resources to do that, it's very difficult. But I think we owe it to ourselves. Ultimately, and I tell these guys when they get hired, I'm like, hey, what's our goal in this job? Obviously, like, aside from all the real work stuff, like, the ultimate goal of this job is to work a successful career and suck as much money out of the pension fund as you can when you retire, right? I mean, along the way,
Hell yeah.
we're going to help people. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to be all in. We're going to work our butts off, like all that stuff. But we work a very difficult job. It's trying on our families. It's trying on us. Work on yourself. Keep yourself in shape so that when you retire at 50 or 55 or 60, you can suck as much money out of that pension fund because you deserve it. But if you don't take care of yourself throughout your career, you're a detriment to your residents, you're a detriment to your coworkers, and you're a detriment to yourself. So really, ultimately, the one thing, if I could snap my fingers right now and say, this is what I want right now, I want a fit for duty standard annually that everybody has to pass. And if you don't pass it, you got to figure out how to pass it before you come back to it.
That is exactly how it should be across the nation. I was a fireman back east prior to moving here out west, and that was a constant joke. And no shade, I love that fire department, but it was, the best shape of my life was the day I graduated the academy. It's like, dude, shame on you if that's the case. My biggest culture shock when I moved out west here was the opposite. These motherfuckers are doing skillies like every day. And I'm like, he's 10 or 15 years older than me and he's freaking smoking me. I was embarrassed. And I'm like, holy cow. But our whole area, everyone kind of does the same thing. You have to pass an annual physical, and there are metrics and VO2 max numbers you must meet. And if you don't, you can't be on a truck. But they give you a year and resources to get you back there. Because exactly what you said, the public looks at us as whatever city, whatever county fire department, period, the end. Or whatever city, whatever county fireman, right, period, the end. It's not, my God, that fire department's awesome, but Luke Peterson, he's a fat slob, or Steve or C, he's a freaking load, right? Yeah, it's the name on the back of our shirts is huge for a reason, So it sucks that that's not across the nation. And it's funny because when I talk to guys out here, it's just been a norm for them. So they're like, what do you mean they don't have annual physicals? It's like, well, they do, but it's for like heavy metals and things like that. It's not actually, you don't get and do a stress test and on an exercise bike. And they're like, you don't, right? It's like, no. And they're like, oh, that's weird, right? It's just funny because, what do you think the biggest pushback in your region is about those physical, or is there pushback at all?
I mean, the biggest thing is the process. So like you said, you get a year to get yourself into the shape you need to get into to be able to pass that test. And I think the biggest problem is lack of resources to make it come to fruition for us, as far as what do we do when somebody fails it? How long do we give them? Where do we send them? How do we rehab them? Who are the professionals? Who's guiding this thing? It's a big undertaking. And I think the biggest hurdle right now is having the resources to be able to implement something like that. Well, the union's going to be heavily involved in something like that to say, hey, wait, you can't take somebody off the job right now. And I get that. You got to be able to give them some time to rehab. You got to give them fair warning, give them an opportunity, which is fair. I think that, yeah, in our region, we have a lot of medium-sized fire departments that don't necessarily have the resources as if we brought everybody together to do it, collectively, which is very difficult to do. At my department, one of the great things we do is probably our fire chief is super pro fitness. And probably 10, 12 years ago, we ran a study on our high call volume times. When do we actually have time to work out? And what we found was 0700, 0900 was our downtime. That was the time where our call volume was the lowest. He said, all right, here's what we're going to do. 700 rig checks. You get done with your rig checks. You're in your workout clothes. You work out, shower up. We're not scheduling any drills till 0900. That's your workout time. Now, we're not covered for calls, but that's your time. We're not putting anything on the schedule till 0900. Get your rig checks done. Go work out. And that's what we do, which is good. But we don't have an official fit for duty test annually.
Gotcha. No, and like I said, that's a great, snap your fingers, because like you had said, the goal is to drain the pension system across the nation. We make it 7 years from when we retire nationally, right? So we retire and 7 years later, we're fucking dead. Like, that sucks. After doing 35 years serving the public, you deserve a lot longer, and it's up to us, it's up to us to make that a very acceptable and normal part of our daily routine at the house,
Right.
And it's, especially as company officers and chief officers, the best thing to do is you just doing it, right? And they're like, crap, the chief's in the gym. I'm going to see what the chief's doing, right?
I better get in there.
Yeah, I better get in there. Shit, he's in there, right? So,
Yeah, right.
I mean, yeah, just doing it. Like anything we say, like when we start talking about ladder work or whatever, hey, you want to get better at single man 24s? Guess what? Go throw single man 24s against the station over and over again, and you'll be by yourself for a couple weeks, and eventually a guy will join you. And before you know it, the whole shift's out there, and you're learning new ways to do stuff. Fitness is no different. It's part of our trade. But, dude, I love it. So, again, Chief, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I apologize. We tried to schedule this a couple times, so I'm so happy we're able to sit down and get this going. But again, please, everyone, reach out to Chief Peterson, Firefighter Straps. His link for his company will be in the bio. You can find him on Instagram and everything else. You've heard him. He's one of the brothers, right? He's here to make our lives better, make us more efficient, and make us freaking studs on the fire ground. So with that, Chief, you got anything to leave the audience with?
No, I appreciate your time, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you, my brother. We'll see you guys in another 2 weeks. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back in another 2 weeks. Remember to like, share, review if you can. Helps drive traffic to our podcast. Remember, let's leave our ego out of the fire service. It's amazing what we can accomplish when no one's looking for credit. Much love. Let's stop eating our own and become better firemen. Catch you next time.